Good day, podcast community. Pete Kane here, Podcast Pete and certified lifestyle coach. And we have a wonderful guest on the show today. So, Jenny, for the ones that don't know you, tell our viewers who you are, what you do, and who you serve. And then we'll get into our podcast.
Thanks so much, Pete. I am Jenny Garufi. I've been a healer and author and intuitive for the last 20 years. My journey began in healing myself from 7 years of chronic illness in 3 weeks, which woke me up to hey, how'd I do that? How can I help other people do that? And I've just been a constant learner. I'm a constant student. So really followed my own intuition on how can I gather more tools to help people that led to me learning about the mind-body connection even deeper and shamanism and the Akashic records. And right now, my focus is really to give people simple tools to connect to their own intuition, to their own gifts, and really to motivate them to be happy and live their best life, no matter what is going on around them, in these days of AI, to be able to discern truth and to really have that connection with their higher self.
Ooh, that's beautiful. I was at a Rotary conference this weekend, and I was talking to a friend of mine, and when I had her on, she was the first person that had 3 coaches. So I was asking her more. I mean, it was great podcast, but we were talking about learning, and she was forced into almost learning way back when she had a tragic thing in a business, tragic kind of thing in her life. And it kind of just put her in a trajectory that she's never looked back. So in your journey, tell our viewers, when did the light bulb go off that continuous learning and working on Jenny was so important that we could kind of glean a little bit of insight into?
Yeah, well, the doctors had said I'd be in a wheelchair, no hope of healing. So after healing myself, I was like, wait a minute, we are more powerful than we've been told. And I was a I got my degree in psychology, so I knew some of this stuff. But when you get diagnoses, you default to the experts. And you just, kind of become a victim of your own mind. I mean, I was my worst saboteur, concentrating on the pain, and I can't be a good enough mom or good enough friend or good enough daughter, really feeding myself with that negative self-talk, even though I was sick. You wouldn't do that to an animal or a child, God forbid, that was hurting, but we do that to ourselves. So after healing, I was like, how do I get my word out there? How do I help other people? And I found blogging, and I thought that was such a good vehicle because it would keep me learning, keep me getting information so that I could give it to other people. So that kind of began that. I always love learning anyway, but that kind of began my journey down the self-development, and which led to spirituality and how they intersect, and really just that mind-body connection, that deeper, how do we really get past our own programming and our past traumas, your friend, how do you get past that to be that compassionate person for yourself that you would for other people, and really give yourself the best chance to become the best version of you.
Ooh, that's beautiful. You were mentioning about blogging, and I was not a journal. I probably did one journal up to age 64. I wasn't, and I grew up dyslexic. So in my mind, I thought, I was misspelling words, and it wasn't kind of something I would lean into. But when I discovered writing, I discovered more of who I was. So now I have 18 journals. I do it every day, and it's a totally different approach to how I kind of learn. When you started blogging, I think somebody said we rewire our brain as opposed to typing. We can type 10 times faster, but when we write something, our brain connects more with that process. Was that your, journey, that jogging, that blogging put you in a position to know more about who Jenny was?
Absolutely. And I've always kept journals as long as I can remember. I think I have journals going back to when I was like 6 years old. That's always been like, been writing poetry and wrote for other people. So, yeah, I love getting information and just opening up to, okay, what else can I learn today? And yeah, writing about it is a way to process it deeper. And
Hmm.
also, my key message is like how to make things simpler. Because if you make things too complicated, people shut down. First
Yeah.
sentence or two, they're like, I don't get it,
Yeah.
and whatever negative programming from their past will come in, be
Yep.
like, you won't understand this. So I really want to make things simple because it is simple.
Yeah.
You can use those intellectual words, but I find myself too, shutting down sometimes if things seem too complicated. So I want to be able to make these things accessible to people.
Hmm.
So in the learning information, I went to the Bronx High School of Science, so things were very scientific, but I want to make things accessible and for people to be able to apply it to their everyday life. And blogging definitely helped me kind of discern, integrate, and then give out that information in a different way.
That's beautiful. We take physical showers to clean ourselves,
Mhm.
but the mental part of the shower is something that's neglected. I've noticed it. When I was asking a person that I know, like, how do you grow each day? Like, what's your process? And it was as he shared with me, there was not anything focused on learning. Yes, consumption of things. So when you're creating, Jenny, versus the consumption of media, which is out of control, whether it's scrolling or watching TV. How do you approach the day to create your best day?
I always say there's 3 most important parts of the day for that. There's right when you wake up, what are you saying to yourself? Are you dreading your to-do list? Are you repeating the things you wish you did yesterday? Are you concentrating on your pain? Or are you, because the subconscious is tuned in the morning and at night. So those are really important times to really say good things to yourself. My husband and I keep a gratitude journal at night to
Mm,
really tune into that. And as you mentioned, the shower, because usually people aren't bugging you there. You have the healing element of water. Why not make that your sacred, like spa like time where you just ask, connect with yourself, ask yourself how you're doing, pay gratitude for something, really tune in instead of going through the to-do list. I was so guilty of this. I was like, did I wash my hair? I don't even remember. Like I'm in so many different places in my head that
mhm,
I'm not enjoying the sacred time in water where I'm physically washing myself. But what about if I could connect with my deeper part of myself there too? Hey, I'm kind of vulnerable here.
mhm,
I'm naked underwater. Like, what better time? No one's bothering me. I don't
mhm.
have my phone. What better time to kind of tune in and just ask how I'm doing, ask how my body is doing, pay gratitude when I'm washing my body, do it intentionally
Mhm.
instead of just some routine that doesn't really help you at all. I mean, yeah, it'll get you clean, but you're not going deeper into it. So I love those 3 times are my definite connect time. Anytime in nature too, obviously, but those 3 times are times that we can all take that time daily to do that.
That's I love that. A person shared with me a bird app, and it was called Merlin.
I love Merlin.
Oh, and all of a sudden, I'm on the front porch, and it identified, this is a couple weeks ago, 18 different birds. And as I was talking to her, she said, just really notice how they actually talk to each other. You'll see the go back and forth with two birds.
Mhm.
It was like a discovery. Like, I've heard the birds.
Yeah.
Go a little bit deeper in anything, it's something magical happens. You just you see birds differently, you listen to them differently, and you take in nature. What do you think? Like, we're busy, busy, busy. How do you connect with that nature part of our journey?
Well, I'll give you a step further in the Merlin app too. So I will look up spiritual meaning for this bird online because the birds also give us messages. So that's such another like next step after you're listening to really
Mhm.
go and find out what are the messages being sent to me today. But I love nature, just sitting outside. But
Yeah.
even if you can't get outside, I've had clients that maybe they're limited, have a plant, have a pet, like to be able to connect deeper to something else that is living and
Mm.
beautiful and just maybe close your eyes, and just ask if there's anything, or maybe look at a different way, like unfocus your eyes a little bit and let yourself kind of see deeper. One of
Yeah.
my favorite meditations is to close my eyes and listen because there's a million sounds going on around us. We usually hear like one or two, but
Yes.
really to listen to, oh, I hear that car in the distance, and oh, I hear that too, and I hear the ticking of the clock. It just takes us deeper and it makes us recognize how much we're missing, usually because we're so focused on what's right in front of us. And it can
Yes.
just take us to this deeper sense of like peace and connection
Mhm.
and really the present moment, which, we're kind of programmed now not to really be in. Let's scroll through TikTok. Let's do this, let's do that. But really, when we take that time, no matter what it is, if I find myself getting too jumbled during the day, I'm like, all right, slow down, and just take some breaths.
Mhm.
I love box breathing where you breathe in for 4, hold for 4, exhale for 4, and hold for 4. Just bring yourself to that present moment or even watch your breath go
Yeah.
in and out just to settle your nervous system
Yes.
instead of just being in that constant go mode.
Yeah, I never realized meditation and breathing, but when I was forced to spend 49 days after I lost half of my body on a stroke, is I really could see, one, how I thought I could never meditate because I had that active brain, the ADHD, whatever they want to say. But I have discovered that what you're just saying is slow down, breathe, meditate. I do it a couple times during the day. I do that same thing where I just close my eyes and listen. And you're right. It's kind of like the deeper sounds that get overlooked come to light, and your brain allows your time to really settle down because it's so easy to get caught up in the fast-paced nature. What do you think as we move into AI, and it seems like the pace for a lot of people has even gone faster? What would you tell our viewers, like, you still gotta connect with yourself, you still have to be present and have those meaningful relationships, but it kind of is always pulling us to the other side. How do you look at the future, and what do you think Jenny will do to slow down the pace and really continue the journey that you're on?
Yeah, it's always the coming back to self in any moment that you can, and especially those triggering moments. Can you stop yourself before you go down the rabbit hole of how horrible that was, that person said that, or that thing is in the news? Like, can you stop yourself and just show up for yourself the way you would a good friend?
Mm.
I'm creating these 1-minute daily meditation audios. They help me too, to be able to write a short script and to be able to record that and be able to be like, okay, this is me slowing down for a minute. And we don't need these. It'd be really nice if we all had hours to meditate on a mountaintop, but that's not realistic. So
Mhm.
how can we find these little windows of time? And it doesn't have to be this monumental moment. It can be when you're washing the dishes. What are you saying to yourself? Are you cursing that you have to wash the dishes? Are you saying, wow, this water feels really good on my hands and I'm really happy I had this meal with my family, or I was able to make this meal for myself. When you're doing laundry, same thing. Wow, I'm so grateful I have this washer and dryer in my house and I'm not taking the laundry down to the river, to wash it. Like
Mhm.
any moment can be a moment of beauty and presence. And the more we become aware of that, the more we stop ourselves. And even if it's like putting on your favorite song and dancing in the kitchen while you're cooking instead of
Mhm.
feeling that obligation, like we get that opportunity in every moment to change how we're speaking to ourselves about what we're doing. So it's such a beautiful thing, and I've been on this journey over 20 years. I catch myself all the time still, but you get better and better at it. And you don't go as far down the rabbit hole. You'll catch yourself, 3 minutes in, 5 minutes in, instead of 2 hours in. So
Mhm.
just this grace with yourself too. I roll my eyes at myself again, like, really, Jen, you're here again. Haha. Like, can you giggle at yourself and like this being human instead of punishing yourself for noticing or punishing yourself for that habit? Like if you have a habit, it served you in some way,
Mhm.
and yeah, it might be a self-sabotaging habit, but how can you show up for yourself in a better way? Instead of going for that pint of, Ben and Jerry's, like, how can you stop before you get to that? Maybe I need to walk outside. What is this filling in me?
Mhm.
And really start to talk to yourself and get curious with yourself. And above all, be really forgiving because, again, whatever habits we've adopted have been some kind of protection
Mm.
or self-soothing, and that deserves a lot of love, and we would give anyone else that love.
Yeah, that so true. And you mentioned self-talk, and if you followed me around, you would see I self-talk all day long. And somebody had said, I think it was either on a podcast or I read it, like the first 7 years of our life are very important years that formulate thinking. Not that we can't change it, but that wiring happens early in life. Did you find anything like that, like when you were a little girl, that 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 environment, that programming, whatever it was? Because they say they hear no like 100 times more than they hear a compliment or yes. Did you find in your journey that those formative 7 years had a bearing on you a little bit later in your life?
Absolutely, and I was born to teenage parents, so, they were doing the best they could they both came from families that were challenged too. I, say I was really lucky that I got love, and they were kinda determined to do the opposite of how they were raised.
Mhm.
So I did get that, but yeah, I mean, what I've seen work with clients for 20 years is people will still have those wounds from being really young, especially
Mhm.
like a mother wound, if they weren't, and moms are human too, and if their mother didn't love them with unconditional love, how are they supposed to know what that even looks like? I'm very lucky my mom did love me unconditionally and taught me that, but so many people don't. And to be able to get that forgiveness too, and recognizing that they were doing the best they could
Mhm.
from their own upbringing, that comes with like years of, working through stuff and recognizing patterns. And, at 9, I was sexually abused. I held on to that wound for a long time in different ways, needed to heal that in layers too. Um, but can we show up with gentleness for ourselves and compassion and knowing that we're better than that? Like, we don't have to be living from that trauma. We can really look at it with love and say, and forgiveness is a huge one too, because I know that my abuser was sexually abused by his father.
Mhm.
Like I know that, and I can have this compassion, doesn't excuse what he did know, but not everyone heals, and if you don't heal, you bleed on other people, you
Mhm.
still you carry that wound forward. So yeah, it is really important. And the perfectionist, the people pleasing, all those came from my young years too. I know that, and it's something I still, again, we heal in layers. It's not like we wake up and we're like, oh, I'm perfect now, everything's wonderful. We heal in layers, and in noticing and being kind to ourselves. Relationships are reflections too. If we don't love ourselves, we're going to attract people around us that don't treat us
Mhm.
with unconditional love. So really, like, how can we keep giving to ourselves? How can we keep really diving deeper into that self-love and self-worth to know that we do deserve healthy relationships and we do deserve healthy habits and we do deserve to make time for ourselves. And it's an ongoing journey, and the people that are actually conscious of this, I find it's hard sometimes because people are like, oh, well, I don't want to come from ego. Like, if you're even thinking that, there's no chance you're going to be a narcissist. Like, narcissists don't necessarily worry about that. So really being kind to yourself and owning your self-worth and owning even the little things, like how many parents don't give themselves credit for making their kid lunch or dinner, or getting them ready in the morning, or these little things that we do every day, that in this world where it is really challenging, watching it's like we're trying not to be conscious of everything outside us because we'd all be kind of in bed huddled up under the blankets, like giving ourselves credit for getting out of bed and getting in the shower. Like, we can really do that.
Mhm.
And, when we start to show up for ourselves in that way and change the self-talk even a little bit, things start
Mhm.
to shift. I'd heard that we have 60,000 thoughts a day, 95% are the same as yesterday,
Yes.
80% are negative. When
Yeah.
you start listening and can start changing it to maybe even 50, oh, I have more than 50% are positive, things start shifting in your life pretty quickly.
Yeah. Yeah, I heard that same thing. I heard between 12,000 and 60,000 thoughts. So I was talking to my friend. I said, so, because I read, I journal, I'm constantly looking to feed my mind with good things. Because if you focus on like what's happening in the world and the news, all that kind of stuff, it's easy to get programmed in a way that you start like saying things you probably wouldn't and not celebrating those little things. What are you most excited about in the future? Like today, what is Jenny thinking? Like what are you excited about?
In my own life or in the world?
Yeah, in your own life.
In my own life, we're looking to move to another state that has a lot more sun, closer to kids and grandkids.
Mm,
So I love that. I love that I'm refocusing. I work out with clients one-on-one, which I love, but I'm refocusing on how to get my work more out there. So writing more, releasing more books, this daily podcast, getting out meditations. Like, how can I serve,
mhm.
in a fun way,
Yeah.
that fills me up and also can give to others. So I get really excited about that. My husband and I working less, but exploring more, living in a new place. And yeah, nature. Really, that's it. Like, being the place we want to go is 80 more days of sun than where we are. So
Oh.
gardening more, being out in nature, hiking more. Like, those things get me very excited.
Yeah, there was I lived in a place for a year and a half, and it was the average age was just over 80. It was said 55 and older, but it was north of that. And I would ask people like, why did you move in here? What's your story? And it was like I wanted to be near grandkids. I moved from Florida. I just moved where the grandkids are. So, what's your best like excitement for a person? My sister's going to be a grandparent for the first time in a few months, and she's been surrounded by all her other brothers and sisters who have grandkids. What do you like most about being a grandparent?
It's all the joy. It's like you
Yeah.
don't have the stress of the first time you become a parent. There's like, oh my God, I'm responsible for this being for the rest of my life. Like, there is such pressure on you and you're learning as you go. Whereas, now my kids are grown. So to be able to show up for as a grandparent, like, it's just the fun stuff. And you
Mhm.
just get to be amazed without the pressure of this is all my responsibility. You get to see, because it's my husband's daughter that has our grandkids. You get to see them as a parent, which is so beautiful too. And yeah, it's just all the joy and really seeing it at a different level, because you don't have the pressure. It's little bits of time too, and the
Yeah.
wonder through their eyes. I think maybe being a little older too, And just seeing that world like through their eyes for the first time is so beautiful. The development of language and yeah, it's pure joy and love.
Yeah, it is. I love just the questions they ask
Oh, yeah.
and just the putting yourself like at 6, this was a 6-year-old and I had a 9-year. I have anywhere from 1 to 12. So, it's a wide variety, but they're all girls. And, they asked, I mean, the questions they asked, my heart melts.
Yeah.
Things, but I had a friend of mine that had a cyber truck. And so I said, I want to rent that for a day. And I took my 9-year-old to a cooking class, which was in our county. It was so far out. I'm in Atlanta and it could have been in Alabama. It was so far out. And we got in the car after the cooking class, which is dark. And I usually don't drive at night, but we hit the self-start button and we had the best time. She was asking Grok all these questions,
That's awesome.
talking because that thing's so big. It was the first time I had driven a self-drive. So I was confident as it was making its way through the back roads, but just to hear the questions that she's asking and wanting to know what was, different things. It was absolutely, if I could have recorded it, I would have, because it was just beautiful. They're getting into a new era. I mean, so much is the, the digital part of our life. What do you think? Like, we learn so much from people, but it's almost like we're gravitating to digital devices. How do you balance your digital life with your spiritual or your Jenny life?
I need to meditate daily. Like it is part of my peace.
Mhm.
And so in the morning, I love my husband. He's like the only person I could spend 24/7 with and not get tired of. But he knows in the morning I need my time. Like I
Mhm.
need my cup of tea or coffee and just to be in my own space and connect with myself and do some breathing, do
Mhm.
some meditation. Uh, Nature is another way to just connect outside, to make sure that I'm present. You're present in nature. You're listening to the birds. You're well,
Mhm.
like, wow, look at that cool tree. Look at those beautiful flowers. Like, so really to connect that way, to just find that balance because I know that when I'm on the screen too much, my eyes hurt. Like, and I don't feel as connected. It's interesting though, because I also do connect with people all over the world through the computer, so there is that balance too. But it's really important for me to just have that downtime, the time on my back porch in the hammock, to just kind of do nothing.
Mhm.
And that's where like the guidance comes in.
Yeah.
That's where, or I'll take a bath, that's where I'll get I got the message to do the 1-minute meditations in the bath, like that's
Mhm.
where messages will come in. So, and that's been a lesson really hard for me as a recovering perfectionist, people pleaser. It's always been about the what can I do? What can I do? So
Mhm.
really like I know when I feel like that, it's like, no, don't do anything. You need to shut down everything, be quiet, get back to yourself. Maybe it's journaling. Yeah,
Mhm.
maybe it's being out in nature. Maybe it's some breath work. But I know that that's the way I get the real answers. Is if I'm forcing things, that's not the way things are going to work. And it's a lesson the universe has taught me over and over and over again. I'm stubborn, but we tend to get in these patterns of wanting to make things happen.
Mhm.
And so can we in that moment show up with just a little grace and be
Mhm.
like, "You know what? You get a 10-minute timeout. Just go and do something else and return to self." And then you'll have that like inspirational next move instead of the forceful, I got to do this next.
Hmm. That's great. I have a friend that's in the self-storage business, and it seems like there's a self-storage unit on every corner, like there's a Starbucks, and it's like people's clutter. And I have a guy that he's had it for 10 years and he hasn't, it just, how do you declutter? Because it's been therapy for me. I'm a minimalist sort of,
Mhm.
kind of, and the more I can keep getting rid of things and just get down. How do you declutter and handle that? I call it the self-storage syndrome.
It is really important to declutter, and luckily, my husband and I are both on the same page with that. It's helpful too if the people that you're around are on that same page.
Mm,
Yeah, I have a bag of clothes to go to, to go to Goodwill, like, upstairs, like, just constantly looking at, because we need to make space for the new
mhm.
stuff to come in. And honestly, if we're, like, hoarding stuff, it's kind of telling the universe we don't have enough space
Yeah.
for stuff. So to be able to, I love cleaning my office, like going through papers. And some of my clients could get overwhelmed because, maybe their kids have too much stuff, but it can be like a drawer. It can
Mhm.
be a countertop. It can be, but I know that feeling of, like, when you look at something after you do it, you're like, wow, that looks so much better. Like, just feeling it's almost like a relief and
Yes.
gratitude. And also I love the Marie Kondo, way of clearing, of, like, giving gratitude for the thing that you had, but
Yeah.
then saying, okay, it's ready to go on to the next person. My husband and I do puzzles, but then we donate them so other people can do puzzles. Like,
Mhm.
really, just like, how can you get rid of stuff and free up your energy so you're inviting stuff in, and also you're grateful for what you had.
Yeah. If you had to, like, you had to consult, coach, or mentor a 20-year-old Jenny, what you've learned, what would you say to her that would be helpful for her?
Ken, I was so wrapped up in just doing, I went to grad school after college, and doing and being social. And I would say definitely just take more time alone, take more
Mhm.
time for walks, take more time for reflection and journaling, and not necessarily having to do all the time.
Mhm.
A lot more being.
Mm. Yeah, I ask myself that a lot, just to just kind of, maybe something, it can give me a little bit more insight. But yeah, we learn so much in our journey, and to go back and coach our younger self. What would you say, like, when it comes to the whole nature of busyness? Okay, so we've talked about that, but just slowing down. You've said a few other things. Is there anything else that you use to slow down that you could share with us that we haven't talked about?
It's interesting. The number one thing I'll assign my clients beside meditation, I say, is even more important than meditation, is joy.
Mm,
What brings you joy? Is it listening to your favorite song, singing along, dancing along? Is it doodling? I have both my kids are artists. One of my kids would give me art lessons, drawing lessons. And so, what brings you joy? What fills you up? Because
mm,
that is when also the guidance comes in. That's when you're connected more than any other time. For some people, it's physical activity. I do love qigong and stretching. Like, what is it that connects you to joy? Because that's the most important. That you're actually telling the world, the universe, like, I'm okay. Look at me. I love this thing, and it really is filling you up with love and appreciation.
yeah. Yeah, there's I don't know if you've heard of Brendan Burchard.
Yeah.
He talks about bring the joy. He talks about Qigong. He's I'm thinking, like, hey, Jenny's dialed into, and there's so many things that if we practice it, because you're right about the subconscious, like there's 90% is replaying, the old past. So we have to be more intentional about things like showing up with joy, being grateful for what we have, forgiving people, just different things that help us in our journey. what would you say if you were like looking at somebody that tends to be more slanted towards, replaying the past? How do you talk about bring the joy? Do you say be more? How do you help your clients to like transform into a better mindset?
Gratitude is the number one tool.
Hmm.
And so many people that beat themselves up never think of anything they're grateful for themselves for. So I have my clients write a list of 10 things you're grateful for yourself for. Maybe you have a good sense of humor, you reach out to friends, you love animals, you love nature. So gratitude is like the miracles, like sauce that changes life too. And what are you grateful for in other people? We tend to focus on what annoys us, like in a relationship. If I have a woman that is not happy with her husband, I'll have her write a list of 10 things she's grateful for him for. Because it's natural. It's in our human nature to
Yeah.
go to the negative. And when we focus on that, we're not allowing for the goodness to come in. Whereas when we focus on gratitude, we're really opening our hearts up for a lot more goodness to come in. And I call that the number one tool that helped me to heal, like focusing from, I can't do this and I'm in pain, to I have a comfy bed and my fingers don't hurt. And,
Mhm.
like really shifting that narrative, it just shifts our energy and it shifts the possibilities.
Yes. Yeah, that's the last question. We do the 5 to thrive. And the last question is, what are you grateful for? And that's every day. And so, it doesn't have to be big things, but
Yeah.
little things. But yeah, just like you're saying is that changes your mindset when you start leaning into gratefulness. I want to be respectful of your time. So tell our viewers, I have one final question after this. How can they get more of Jenny?
They can go to jennygarufi.com. They can put in the instant alignment and get the 1 minute podcast anywhere.
Mhm.
Spotify, Apple. My books are on Amazon. Jenny Garufi. 3 minute shower reset is the latest one. And yeah, just jennygarufi.com usually has my latest things going on.
That's so good. So, what would be the one thing, Jenny, you would want our viewers to take home from our time on this podcast?
Be gentle with yourself. Show up for yourself how you would a loved one. Talk to yourself how you would a loved one. Uh, we hear our words most often. So kind of check yourself. Like if you find yourself talking negatively to yourself, you're the only one that can change that.
Hmm.
And how can you show up a little gentler today? 1% gentler today, and really do something to bring yourself joy. That's another thing. The joy is give yourself that permission. We get in the too busy mode,
Hmm.
but 5 minutes of listening to a song or of drawing isn't gonna change, what you get done today, but it will change your mood and actually will change what you get done today because you'll be filled up. And when we're filled up, we do things with a whole lot more love.
That is so good. It's being recorded on a Monday, and for people starting out that week, share this with people that need to meet and get more of Jenny, because starting off the week with what you shared on this podcast is very special, and we thank you for taking the time to be with us at the beginning of the week, and thank you so much for being a guest.
Thank you so much, Pete. I love my time